Okay, so let me start uh, about the token transition plan in Atlas. So first, let me uh, show you the complete WCG token transition timeline. Um, Basically, so we're here, October 2021, and we have achieved the milestone uh, before milestone 3, that is to prepare uh, the IAM of the experiments. And now we're on this milestone 4. And for the future, the OSG uh, and the counter timelines are taken into account, while there are some other milestones in 2022 or after are still under discussion. And for Atlas, yep, just as mentioned, we already have the Indigo IAM as a production service, and this achieves the milestone 3 of WLCG. And generally, Atlas tries to follow the WLCG timeline, while sometimes WLCG timeline can be too ambitious for us. And in production, people don't want to use software that is not ready or tested at scale. So, for example, CMS will retire their VOM servers by the end of this year. However, Atlas will maintain the VOMs longer and will join CMS next year if everything is okay. And here are a few points mentioned in Atlas SNC plenary in September. So basically, submission from Harvester about the jobs to counter CEs and VOMs to IAM transition, and yeah, and everything in token in 2025. Okay, so let's talk about the components in Atlas. So the first one is Panda, and the Panda server, we already have the token authentication authorization for users, which is compliant with OIDC and OAuth2, which supports both token and X509 in this Panda client 1445 or higher. That means user can interact with Panda with their ID token to submit, retry, or kill, or show their tasks. And Panda authorized yeah the authorized this user by the username and group claims in the token. And this mechanism is already working for Sphinx and Rubins in Doma Panda. And for these two experiments, there is a dedicated IAM for Doma Panda, and they use the CI logon for ID providers. And as for Atlas, this mechanism is tested with Atlas IAM. However, the migration timeline depends on the Atlas decision. It probably will be uh, not I mean, not earlier not earlier than LS3, because users don't want to have this kind of change during data taking. And about the harvester and pilot communication with Panda. So Panda already has some token mechanism for bots. There is an attempt to have have authentication harvester with a self-signed token, but this is not used in production. We will extend this mechanism to work with Atlas IAM token. And between Panda and Harvester, since the communication is just internal, so this can be easily changed if needed. However, the pilot case is more complicated because pilot also needs to access storages. Uh, so this all depends on the mechanism to renew access token for pilots on the worker node in the future. And this part, I believe, is still under discussion. There are some solutions, possible solutions already, but I mean, well, we're still having a discussion for this mechanism. And for harvesters job submission, Harvest already supports submission to counter CE with token, and this is verified. And I will talk about it later for details. About Rusio, Rusio has compatibility-based authentication already since version 122. And Rusio team has planned to move to a more fine-grained token workflows, but that will require more extensive development in Rusio and a security audit of the whole workflow. And I think you can hear more about Rusio's detail in Martin's talk tomorrow. And about the use sites. So here we list the services from CE storage and the computing environment that are possible uh, to be migrated during token transition. So, and and we show that which US sites has these services. So, for example, the counter CE, all the regular US sites have counter CEs to be migrated, and VNL has ArcCE, and etc. etc. A few more points about US sites. So basically, the counter CE upgrade should be finished by February 2022 in accordance with OSG's timeline to end the GCT support. And we have performed some submission tests with Atas IAM token in midware tier 2 and BNL. Uh, However, the sites may also need other tokens, other than WCG tokens, maybe tokens from OSG and Fermilab to be tested. Some components that don't need token transition, like CVMFS or batch systems, but the sites may upgrade their batch system along with the necessary CE upgrade. And about analysis facilities, sure, tier 3, they will be deferred for the future in the token transition plan. Okay, so here comes the upcoming transition in Atlas about Harvester and Counter CE. So the short-term goal is to follow up WCG's timeline milestone 4 to uh, to have a pilot job submission performed with token by October 2021. So that means we'd like to submit from Harvester to Counter CE with the token issued by Atlas IAM, but also keep X51 proxy in the job for the pilot to access storages. And eventually we will need to upgrade all Counter CEs in Atlas by September 2022. Some requirements to achieve this. So first, we need to have the bot clients registered in Atlas IAM, granted with WCG compute scopes. And about counter, we need this counter version, so 905 or 911 or higher, because in these counter versions, we can submit both token and proxy, and the CE can decide which credential to authenticate, but not the version too high because the GSI support may be dropped. And for counter CE, I think Brian talked about it. So it's OSG 3.6 or counter CE 5, which supports this token, and they need to, and at the C side, they need to set up the token credential mapping for Atlas IAM tokens. And there are also other requirements about Harvester. I'll talk about it later. For the bot clients, the clients are registered in Atlas IAM. For these clients, we use the client credential flow authorization. That means we can directly get the access token, and this is agreed to be the optimal case for Harvester. And that means we don't need refresh token or to run OIDC agent or service like that. And currently, we have two separate clients for mapping to production analysis users to different accounts on the sites. So basically these two. And here's our example for the configurations in CEs. And this is to have, this is analogous to the VOMS proxy roles. Well, they're saying that the ideal mapping, maybe we only need one account, uh, but yeah, that is true because Atlas job is running in singularity containers. But for now, we provide two tokens in, in separate clients uh, during the migration. Uh, and probably we will need another client as LLCG admin roles for the SAM test and ETF tests. Yeah, and for sure, these clients should be assigned with the WCG compute scopes to make the tokens privilege restricted to communicate to CEs only. And about the harvester, harvester now has this IAM token credential manager plugin as of version 029. So harvester can get access the harvester can get access token for all the Atlas CEs listed on Crick. And this runs as a part of harvester service, so we don't need to run other external process. And the default token lifetime is 1 hour, and harvester updates token every 30 minutes, but this is configurable. And also harvesters Condor submitter plugin support a token credentials submission. That means harvester can pick up the correct token corresponding to the CE it wants to submit to. And to make that, we have to put the plus side token file in the with a placeholder of token path in the submit file template. But for sure, we keep both the X509 proxy and the token in the submit file. So here is an example of the submit file looks like of a real harvester worker. So we have X519 and the token, and basically this file path is really is corresponding to this CE. So here is a picture to show you the whole idea. So in Atlas, we have Panda and Harvester, and now we have the IAM. And Harvester has the proxy on its own, and Harvester now can get the access tokens for CEs from the IAM, and Harvester submits with both credentials. That means Harvester can submit to Condor CEs, which authenticates the proxy or tokens, or the ArcCE via its grid FTP protocol, which authenticates the proxy. Okay, and the verification, we have done the job test, submission test to both Midware Tier 2 and BNL, and basically the submissions are successful with the SX token, and the job's finished normally for sure. And in BNL, we also tested the mapping, user mapping, and yeah, it works fine to map to correct production or analysis account as well. Okay, so the upcoming transition plan, basically we will upgrade the software and configuration on central harvester and Condor instances, and let harvester always submit both token and proxy credentials. And this just started this week, and it will take 1 to 2 weeks to carry out. But basically, we can finish by end of this month. So we will meet WCG's timeline. Yeah, and meanwhile, Atlas sites should take time to upgrade their CEs to support token. The good news is during that phase, there is no more change necessary in central. And we recommend US sites to finish this upgrade by February due to the OSG timeline. And for other Condor CE sites, we suggest them to finish the migration by June next year. So here's the complete short-term timeline. So for CE at site, US site by February next year, other sites by June next year. And yeah, about ArcCEs, well, there is no token necessary to submit to. We don't need to submit to them ArcCE with token very soon. However, because of the Condor version upgrade, we liked the ArcCE sites to provide the REST interface by June next year as well. And all the CE upgrades must be done before September next year, which is the end of life of the Condor version 9.0, the stable release using GCT. And for Central Harvester, we will upgrade to version 9, Condor version 9 very soon. And we will upgrade to Condor 10, probably just after all the sites finish upgrading their CEs. And if necessary, we can provide some special Condor instances if there are some sites left over. Okay, so let me wrap it up with this slide. So we're making steady progress with some unknowns still to be decided. However, the OSG's timeline is a bit ahead of WOCG or Atlas's timeline. So the full transition to token outside of OSG in Atlas will still take several years. So we have this short-term and long-term plans here. So the short-term just includes the job submission and the upgrade of CEs. And the long terms about the others, so forms to IAM and storage and data transfer readiness and the mechanism to renew token on worker nodes, and yeah, the readiness of all sites and the tokens for users. Yeah, for users. So that ends my talk here.
Thank you, FaHui. We are almost at time here. We have maybe 2 or 3 minutes for questions before we move to the next session. So I'm checking the document that I posted on the chat session. Feel free to put questions that require extensive dialogue over there. But are there any questions right now? Wei Yang, question for you.
Yeah, so I just have quick questions about the ArcCE readiness. Do you know, do they have a timeline about when they are going to support token?
I don't know exactly the timeline.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?